The Box Seat, brought to you by our stable of sponsors: Woodland Stud, New Zealand Bloodstock Standardbred, Bracken Farms, Stonewall Stud, IRT, it's your horse and our passion, Australasian Wide Garrard's Horse and Hound, Rikiro Racing Stables, Lincoln Farms, the clubs Alexandra Park, Cambridge Raceway, Ashburton Trotting Club, Addington Raceway and Harness Racing New Zealand. Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of Your Box Seat. Yes, brought to you in association with our stable of sponsors. We're grateful for what they do for this show, so therefore we hope you support them in the industry. Michael Guerin, a lot of questions over the last week and a few maybe not answered. What have you made of the last 7 days and how much are you looking forward to Addington Friday night?
Yeah, it's been intriguing. This Friday, I think things are going to step up, Greg. The handicap conditions of the two major races out of Addington are going to make them very, very interesting. We can see some market movers for both the IRT New Zealand Cup and the Dominion. Last weekend, I saw some interesting things in the open class ranks. I'm not sure I saw the New Zealand Cup winner, but I do think we may have seen the best 3-year-old in the country. All of that's now percolating through the markets, Greg. That in the news, of course, an amazing dream. The Auckland Cup winner is confirmed as not coming to Addington. Greg, she's by far the biggest horse to withdraw so far. And to be honest, Greg, it's holding up pretty darn well as we're now 4 weeks today away from the big one.
So let's get straight into it, Michael. First run in 1996. Here's the start of this year's Spring Cup. All importantly, copy that. One from the outside, Michael. A very nice beginning for him.
Yep, he's been pretty good from the standing starts for most of his career, and this enabled him to get the 1-1 on the back of a very brave Bad to the Bone. Christians Have Time was also quick away, so the first 3 home at the end of this race were all very fast out. Here's a little wobble just here at the top of the straight, does copy that, but then he comes over the top of Bad to the Bone. Christians Have Time's third's going to help his rankings for the Cup, and in behind, in the blue colours, Zach Butcher on a slightly luckless but improving Belle of Montana. Copy that, back in the winner's circle. What did Ray Green make of it all?
Copy that, lovely win. Now Bad to the Bone, he stuck to the task brilliantly well to hold second from Christians Have Time.
Well, Ray, that was almost a perfect comeback.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that. I expected him to go well, but he got such a good trip, and yeah, he only does what he has to, the horse. Morris said he was, he pounced on that other horse pretty quickly, but he switches off, you know, he just does it.
Most importantly, Ray, he's stepping away well, which is a huge factor because all the races between now and Cup time are standing starts.
Yeah, he's always stepped good, actually. He's never not stepped. But he stepped quite quick tonight, which was good, encouraging, yeah.
The Kaikoura Cup has sadly been transferred from Kaikoura to Addington, but that probably suits you because I think it gives you the option to maybe head there, whereas you weren't quite keen on going to Kaikoura.
I wouldn't have gone to Kaikoura, but now that it's at Addington, it gives us a much better option. So because it's closer to the Cup, it's more viable for us, and so yeah.
Okay, so race here on the 22nd at Alexandra Park, and then Addington's Kaikoura Cup on November the 1st.
Yeah, that sounds it.
Some reports going around in WA, maybe they are wishful reports, that he could potentially be heading there in January for the big WA races, the Freo Cup and the WA Cup. Ray, you can't even get to Christchurch. How are you going to get to WA?
Yeah, well, things have got to change quite considerably before that happens, but yeah, we've talked about that, Merv and I, and but there's nothing been finalised. It's just talk at the moment.
Well, Scotty, he was massive.
Yeah, look, he was super. You know, he ended up parked again, unfortunately, but you know, we got a pretty good beginning away, which was the main thing, and we're going good. So after that, we had to sit out park, but he was sort of pretty relaxed out there, and you know, he fought on pretty well.
It's going to be nice one day when you can get him to the front.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah, like you know, it'll take a pretty good one to sit outside him.
One run down. I take it he's here for the Holmes DG in 2 weeks, and then probably Addington on the 1st.
Yeah, look, at this stage, that's the plan. So Hopefully one of us can make it down there, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. So, but yeah, that's our road for the next few weeks.
What were the reports from Zach Butcher, who finished not too far behind you on Balamontana?
Yeah, look, he was wrapped with a run. He said he couldn't quite get a clear run up the straight. He was sort of there, and but she's improved leaps and bounds from the last trials. So we expect the same again for our next start.
You had a couple of others in the race who were both okay. Would they potentially be back here for more open class experience for a Holmes DG where things may suit them better?
Yeah, possibly. We'll see how they come through the run. I mean, Major Jealous, Josh was happy with them, and Marathon Man, I haven't got a chance to speak to Crystal, but they put in honest efforts, and who knows.
You'll Star, just an excuse and change over the last to have won the Spring Cup and win the Cup. Michael, Balamontana, she was really good. What do you think the chances of her being at Addington are?
I think she'll be at Addington, Greg. I'm not sure she'll be in the Cup. I think they have the option to go to an easier race and maybe go to a free-for-all with her, because some of the people going to the Cup are saying they may not go to the free-for-all. So Barry Purdon is a guy who you would trust more than anybody in the country to get that call right. I would say flip of the coin at the moment, but she did nothing last Friday to suggest to me she shouldn't be in a Cup. I thought Copy that was really good, but I'm not sure he's going to scare South Coast Arden, Greg, or self-assured on that. I think he will continue to improve, and the confirmation coming out from both Ray there and Scotty on behalf of him and Barry, and we've also spoken to Logan Hollis this week on our radio show, Trots Talk on ACNZ, that most of the horses from the north are sticking around for the 22nd, the Holmes DG, and then they're going to Addington November 1st. The Kaikoura meeting, Christian Savtime won't go to the Kaikoura Cup. He'll go to the Sales Series race that day. But you would suggest copy that, obviously Bad to the Bone, and Balamontana, and anything else in that race you consider maybe a New Zealand Cup horse, like a Dance Time. They'll head to the Kaikoura Cup, Greg, on November the 1st. So the huge winner out of the move from Kaikoura, as much as nobody wants to see it happen, Greg, has been that Addington November 1 meeting. The Kaikoura Cup's going to be enormously stronger than it would have been. And I shouldn't say loser, but the race which might have a few less horses in it, Greg, I think will be the Ashburton Flying Stakes. Is that how the sort of read you're getting on these races?
Well, that's reflected in the market for the Flying Stakes. Self-assured now into $1.60, Michael. So South Coast Arden now going and pitching his races at Addington, as Brent Mangos told us on radio as well. That seems to suit him. Obviously, it's going to suit the likes of Copy. That whole meeting, the trot race as well, when you consider what we've got for the Canterbury Park Cup this week, which we'll have a look at a little bit later on, is going to be a Shadow New Zealand Cup day. It's going to be enormous, but you're right, the Ashburton Flying Stakes, such a traditional lead-up race to the IRT New Zealand Cup, may well be slightly weakened. The other pre-Cup race meeting, sorry Michael.
One of the other key factors also is going to be what happens with these drivers and these trainers. Now, I spoke to NZTR during the week about what they're trying to do to get jockeys declared essential workers, much in the same way that truck drivers are, so jockeys can go from place to place. I would love to see HRNZ getting into bed with NZTR on this. Yep. And saying, maybe not trainers. Maybe trainers aren't as important to the daily performance, because you can still get somebody else to train the horse, but it's going to be awfully weird if we have all these horses going down and they're having to get new drivers. And I think it's really important we try and do whatever we can to get, yes, trainers and drivers, but if we can only get one, although they could probably declare themselves to be both, to get these people to Addington, and particularly by November the 1st for these lead-up races, Greg, I think it's really off-putting for people and for the markets to not know how these people can go. We realise COVID's a big deal. We realise it's far bigger than harness racing. But I think if NZTR and HRNZ fight that fight together, Greg, even if it's only 5 or 6 or 7 people, that could at least change the levels of professionalism about Cup Day, which, Greg, if we can't have crowds, the turnover is going to be through the roof, and the government gets tax money from that. But there has to be some, I think, leeway for people who act responsibly in racing to be there for the big day.
Yep, hard to argue with that, Michael. Let's go back to Methven from Sunday, which was held at Geraldine, as we know. He's a good stayer, this horse, Cranbourne. It has enabled him to jump up the rankings 10 places, Michael, from 23rd to 13th, so he's in the 15 now. He's a good stayer. Steal the Show was there. Vintage Cheddar was charging home, but Cranbourne deserved this. He never wins by much, but he can stay and follow speed.
Yeah, he's going to be a wonderful addition to the open class ranks. So I'm not suggesting he's going to win the New Zealand Cup, Greg, but I think he's a horse who's going to be in these fights. He's not going to, stop in a New Zealand Cup, and he's going to be an Easter Cup type horse, an Auckland Cup type horse, and I think he'll be even better with another year under his belt, and rough and tumble in the open class ranks will really help him. Obviously, we had Brent White on the show last week, and he was saying how thrilled he is to have a horse potentially heading for the Cup. I think it's a really good story, Greg, to have the horse in the race. The rest of that field, I thought Kango was pretty good after missing away. He's a genuine New Zealand Cup horse. It was sort of hard to get a line on the rest of the form, Greg. Was there something else out of the race that appealed to you heading forward?
Oh, I thought Kango was outstanding, absolutely outstanding. After giving them a start and then having to move around them, and he was only a couple of lengths off them, so he was a big winner for me out of that race. Just back to the rankings, Michael, so 23rd to 13th for Cranbourne. 888 will get to his performance in the Victoria Cup. He jumped up a couple of spots. Christians Have Time with that third in the Spring Cup, 25th to 16th, so just outside. Bad to the Bone, 13th to 10th, and Vintage Cheddar, 14 to 11. So the shakedown is happening, Michael, and they're starting to find their spots. And yeah, I did speak to Brent White about where he goes next. So he not that keen on Ashburton. He's very keen on the aged pace, a race he believes that Cranbourne can win now, essentially at Addington. He thinks he's a massive chance in that.
And when you look at those rankings which came out today, you can count Christians Have Time as in the field. He's 16, but he goes to 15 because Triple Eight's not coming. I spoke to Greg Sugars. He said, nope, we chucked him in case the Inter-Dominions didn't go ahead. They're going ahead. So he is pretty much in the field. That line's about the Christians Have Time line. In saying that, with Amazing Dream now gone, of the 15 who are in the race at the moment, or in that top 15, if you add Christians Have Time in there and take out Triple Eight, Greg, that's pretty darn close to it. That's going to be pretty darn close to the New Zealand Cup field. It's going to take something really big to get these other horses in, Greg, because this week at Addington, you've got South Coast Arden and Self Assured. Next time at Alexandra Park, you're going to have the same depth of field as last week. It's going to get harder and harder from now on to snare one of those top three spots to give you that instant big ratings boost.
A little bit of sadness tinged around the win there too of Cranbourne, one of the part owners of him. The man they call the Big Bear, Ross McCutcheon, tragically lost his grandson. His granddaughter is in hospital in a pretty serious conditions. Big Bear, our thoughts are with you. I know that you love this horse, Cranbourne. You love him to be in the New Zealand Cup, and let's hope he gets there and gives you a little bit of a thrill at a really tough time for your family. Your grandson Josh, he was outstanding academically, I understand, qualified engineer. He's been taken way too soon at the age of 22, but Cranbourne at least flew the flag for you and the family over the weekend, and I'm sure he'll do the same. He's a tough customer over the next few weeks. Let's have a look at that New Zealand Cup market now, Michael. $2.60 Self Assured, $2.90 for South Coast Arden. Copy that at $4.60. Pembroke Playboy around $8. So Self Assured and South Coast Arden are getting closer in the market, and this week they clash, of course, so that might even flip around again.
It might, and maybe it shouldn't, because South Coast Arden's off 10 metres this week and Self Assured's off 20. So all things being equal, they should finish 1-2 in that order. So I don't think this is a definitive Cup trial, but if South Coast Arden keeps winning, it's awfully hard to keep ignoring him. So I think the top three in the market, Greg, it's going to take a lot for them to move. I don't see Pembroke Playboy as a horse who can move into the top three. I just don't see it happening. I think the one horse who people might start warming to, if he happens to win the Holmes DG, is Bad to the Bone, because he steps and he's really tough, and he's beaten Amazing Dream before and he's beaten Copy That, so he can beat some of these horses. But Greg, it's going to take something mammoth to dislodge those top two from those two spots in the market between now and November the 9th.
Michael, bookmakers have opened the top three and top four. What about this then? Bad to the Bone, finish in the top four, trained by the master and Scott Phelan. $3.90.
Yeah, that's fair enough. Top four, it's a nice bet because he's the type of horse, if he steps away quickly, and there are doubts over South Coast Arden and Self-Assured from a standing start, getting up against the marker pegs and what we saw in the Taylor Mile and the Messenger. When he sat park and beat home Amazing Dream, he's probably the best top four bet in the race. But it's a long way to go yet, Greg, and the standing start manners and the barrier draw, because we know it's going to be a capacity field, are so crucial. But good on the TAB for having those markets open, and of course the markets for the two big features coming up on Friday night. I know most of that falls on Matt Peden, so Matt, the harness racing punters appreciate it.
Yep, they certainly do that. Get involved in that, tab.co.nz. Speaking of Cup Week, don't forget about the golf tournament at Templeton. We'll have some more details on next week's show, but peter.frid@nzi.co.nz if you want to flick him an email. There are still some spots available, but we'll detail that more for you next week. We need to go to Alexandra Park and have a look at the performance of Temporale. Absolutely flying. Bit of a shame, Michael. This horse is not coming for a tilt at the Dominion.
Look, I can see what they're thinking. Here he is in front, and he was in front after 400 metres, which is kind of weird because he started off 40 metres. I reckon I've watched more races than almost anybody at Alexandra Park in the last 30 years, and I can't remember seeing that before. That just never happens. But I actually agree with what Michelle and Bernie are doing here. They actually had the first 5 home in that race, so that'll be maybe a first and last time for that for them. I think they're doing the right thing. I think if he heads down there, he runs 4th, 5th in a Dominion. He might run top 3 in a New Zealand free-for-all, but he can stick around up home, keep nice and happy, work on the beach, enjoy life, pick off a couple of $17,000, $20,000 races, Greg. I think you've got to be realistic about where your horses stand, and he's a wonderful horse. Everybody loves him. But Sunday Sun, Bolt for Brilliance, Muscle Mountain, Majestic Man, Oscar Bonavina, this open class ranks, Greg, it's brutal racing coming up. I think as good as any open class ranks we've had for the excitement of the young horses and the proven nature of the old horses. Let's not forget, Majestic Man dominated in Australia last season, Greg. He might go around $15 this week at Addington.
Yeah, and he is. We'll see that a little bit later on, Michael. I think it was a domination of the Wallace Hackett team. The last race we highlighted last week for you looked to be a race in 2, but the punters got this slightly wrong, Michael. Let's go back and have a look at BD Joe. He managed to find his favoured position in front. Of course, his last start winning performance was in the Jewels, and he was too quick again here.
Yeah, well, he wasn't the only one to get it wrong, the punters. I got it wrong too. On the trials the week before, and speaking to Steve Telfer, the co-trainer, I think he thought BD Joe just needed the run, and Ultra Wise Guy might blow past him, but they just went so quick, Rick. He couldn't make enough ground quickly enough, so he's probably actually gone better of the two, Ultra Wise Guy, but they don't pay you for going better. They pay you for winning, and BD Joe is a winner. He's not coming to Addington, Greg, at the stage. Ultra Wise Guy's heading to the Kaikoura meeting at Addington for the sales series, or the age space as they call it. The big fella BD Joe, the Jewels winner, he's going to stick around up home for a while, Greg, then maybe head to Menangle after Christmas with the race like the Chariots of Fire to be his aim.
Let's have a look at race number 8 though, Michael. We had a decent smash on the track. Keeper's Ideal, and here's the sulky that he carried. Yeah, well, they weren't using that later in the night, were they?
No, that's one for the sulky fund, Greg. We're getting a new sulky out of that one. I think it'll take a bit of pedal beating when you look at this angle here. We shouldn't laugh, but everybody was okay. Keeper's Ideal lost a bit of skin, a little bit under the back leg and some in the knee, but it'll be okay. Ben Butcher took the worst of the smash, and he was limping afterwards, but still was passed by the medics to drive BD Joe to win the last. It was a weird feeling, Greg, because there was nobody at the track apart from the participants. It was eerily quiet, so there was no crowd making any noise. But I have to take my hat off to the club. The club acted really professionally. They got things done. Galen McKinnon was in charge of the race night there, and they made sure that everybody was checked by the medics, that all the horses were checked, and they got it turned over really, really quickly. So the stewards are obviously involved in that, and a lot of participants. A lot of people have to get out there and make sure these horses are fine, but it was handled incredibly well, and those horses and owners and trainers still got a chance to race for money on the next on the card, but no one was put in any danger. So made for a good photograph, Greg, but it also made for a pretty decent result out of a bad incident.
Yeah, certainly, and thanks to you being on track, getting the information out via Twitter as well. Let's move on to our regular feature. Each and every week we're profiling a young person on your box seat with IRT NZ, and this week Michael Guerin caught up with a young lady doing some terrific things.
Well, Crystal, you're carrying a well-known name around with you. It's going pretty well so far.
Yeah, pretty happy so far. I've had 6 wins and a few placings, so yeah, really happy as of this point, yeah.
Hey, tell me, this isn't the only form of horse racing you love. Obviously, you did a bit of kids' karts, but did a fair bit of show jumping?
Yeah, did a lot of show jumping. I was relatively successful there, but decided to make the switch to harness racing and follow in my parents' footsteps, yeah.
All right. What made you choose to be a harness racing driver? Is it the family business, or was it something you loved when you tried it?
Bit of both, yeah. I didn't like it to start with, and then Mum made me do a few fast work trips at home, and I fell in love with it and decided, yeah, that's something I want to give a good go. And like, if I don't make it, I don't. But at this stage, I'm loving it, so yeah, really happy.
I think you might make it. You've had those 6 wins already. You drove in the Spring Cup tonight. There must be a huge buzz to be out there with the older boys and girls and some of the biggest names in the sport.
Yeah, super happy especially for Barry and Scotty to put me on the Spring Cup. They've got a lot of other drivers and options, but they chose to stick me on. So yeah, that was really exciting and big moment. Yeah.
Crystal, I've got to ask this for our viewers at home because you look very, very young. How old are you?
I'm only 17.
Wow. Okay, so you've started out very successfully for someone so young. What was it like leaving the home stabling environment to go work for one of the legends in Barry Purdon?
Yeah, it's pretty surreal working for Barry. What you say is he's a legend, yeah. It was good working for Mum and Dad. I was doing a lot there, but I wanted to go out and grow and yeah, see what else I could do outside of home.
What's he like as a boss? Is he a big teddy bear, or can he be a bit harsh? Has he told you off yet?
No, he's pretty good to work for. I love working for him.
What about Friday nights at Alexandra Park? Are you feeling at home here now? Because you haven't been driving that long, but you've done quite a bit of driving.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel at home here. Yeah, it's pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty comfortable.
Who's the favourite horse? I take it either at Mum and Dad's or at Barry and Scott's.
I'd have to stick with Invictus. He's pretty cool. He's been reliable. The owners have stuck me on through. I drove him to get my trials licence, and they've stuck with me, whereas they could put others on. And he's just such a cool dude and puts his best in every week.
All right. I know you're going to get in trouble for answering this, but if you had to ask driving advice from Mum or Dad, who would you ask?
Sorry, Dad, but it'd definitely be Mum.
Well, she's a great addition to the driving ranks. Bubbly, Michael, really confident, working for Barry Purdon and Scott Phelan. She's only going to enhance that already very good record she has sitting in the sulky.
Yeah, and she was a very good pony rider, as you could see from one of those shots. And look, I think Mum and Dad are really proud of her, but I think also Scott and Barry are too. That was a big move to put her on Marathon Man last week, considering all the other drivers they could have had for the Spring Cup. Very delightful young lady, and comes from a really nice family too. So looking forward to see where she heads in the sulky. But Greg, I can't remember many 17-year-olds, and I know sex shouldn't come into this, but particularly 17-year-old females getting quite the start Crystal's getting, with not only the amount of drives, but the success she's had. 6 winners already. So one of the great initiatives you brought into the show, Greg, the opportunity for us and the people at home to get to know some of these younger drivers better. And fair to say, she's got a pretty infectious smile, so I'm sure her fan club among harness racing punters will continue to grow.
Yeah, and if there's anyone out there that you'd like to get us to interview and find out a little bit more around the young people in our game, let us know. theboxseatnz@gmail.com. All right, let's get back to Addington Raceway from last Thursday night. Heat 1 of the Woodland Sire Stakes. Franco Indy had already shown us this time in that it improved from his first campaign, and Michael, he dashed up the straight here. 54-4, 26-7. Can't find a better man than one he got past, and he did it very nicely in the Alabar colours.
Initially, when I watched the race, Greg, I was like, oh, okay, that was good. You know, I don't know what I really expected. I think he sprinted so well the start before, I thought he might be more dynamic. But of course, to your eye, you can't see the 54-4. That's awfully fast, considering it's only his second run back as what's effectively his 3/2-year-old career. So A second horse must be a pretty good horse, Greg, because he led them up in that sort of time. But Franco Mac was okay after having a more difficult run in third, but I think that was a line in the sand performance from Franco Indy. He suggested Greg he can get off the gate, which is going to be crucial for the major races. He can come home in close to 54 seconds himself, and he can work and then relax and get back into a race, Greg. So lots to like about him. I think Republican Party was really good in the last on the card, and obviously in a significantly easier field and in a slower time. He was excellent, Greg, so we'll get to see more of him. Here he is in the Dalgety colours, and he just slingshots past these, and these aren't bad horses.
Well, remarkably,
So,
Michael,
yeah.
he actually won a full second faster than what Franco Indy did, and the reason that was Glenthorne, as he does, flew off the gate from wide out and just kept on running. This horse sat in the trail, and therefore he was able to do this to the older horses. I'm not reading too much into that second faster, because the way Glenthorne races, he runs hard, and that's just what he does, Michael. But when these two clash, now interestingly for the Sire Stakes heat this week, Republican Party wasn't in the original nominations. Obviously, Cran had a look at the field and went, we're going to target this heat, and he is in there. He's drawn the outside, which won't make it easy for him, but gee, on that performance, he has shortened up into a clear second favourite for the final on Cup Day, Michael.
Yeah, I can see why. It was a dynamic-looking performance. Sorry, when I mentioned the times before, Greg, I actually meant the last 800, because one was 54.4, I think one was about 56 and change, I think it was.
Yeah.
Look, he's pretty darn good, and we'll learn a lot more about him this Friday night. Also, Thursday night, we have Montana DJ, Major Perry, who was so good in the duels. Originally, they thought they might go to the Breeders' Crown with him, but clearly they're heading to Addington with them. I think Akuta not being there has helped a lot of people get confidence about that, and the fact it's a lot harder to travel to Australia. So I think Franco Indy's clearly on top, Greg, but these horses are so unexposed and they're moving so quickly and having new challenges all the time. He could easily end up close to favourite on Cup Day. I don't say he'll get past Franco Indy, or he could be fifth favourite. I think it's very much a crop in flux. Just Willow Bay, Greg, spoke to Mark Purdon about him last week. He's drifted quite a bit in the market. He's up to like $15 after one stage being the favourite. He had a slight setback, and he's better now, and they think he'll be able to race in heat. So he is still aiming at the series, but with only 4 weeks until Cup Day, he's going to need to do something pretty impressive to get back up the market.
Yeah, he certainly is. Quick look at that market for you now. So $2.30 for Franco Indy, $4.50 Republican Party. Can't find a better man at $8. Franco Mac the same, and Blame It on the Night, who's in that heat on Thursday night at $13. Just before we go to this quick break, got my hands on one of these this week, Breeding Matters, put together by Brad Reid, who of course now is employed by Harness Racing New Zealand. Magnificent job, Brad. Heaps of information there, including a look back at last season and who are the contenders for the awards, which have been put back because of COVID. Short break. When we come back, the big chat on the other side. We catch up with a departing Joshua Dickey.
Well, Josh, I believe you're heading to Victoria a little bit earlier than expected.
Yeah, about a week earlier than what we thought, but obviously with COVID, it's really changed our plans a lot. But fortunately for both Sammy and myself, that we're still able to get there and hopefully hit the ground running.
How are you going to go in quarantine for 2 weeks? I'm not feeling very happy for Sammy about this.
Yeah, I don't know. She's already complaining about it, so it could be a long 2 weeks, but we'll find out.
Once you get out the other side, there's going to be some really nice horses waiting for you. I believe quite a few of the horses you know from either friends or rival trainers coming across to join you for the Breeders' Crown.
Yeah, we're pretty lucky there, Mick, to be fair. Tony Barron, he's been a great friend of ours for quite a long time now. With got his lovely filly, Life's a Beach. She's heading over, and at this stage, Bob's still got Clever Girl, hope to send over for the Breeders' Crown as well. And Scotty mentioned the other day with the son of Patrick coming over with us, and and little wee 2-year-old filly, hoping all goes well, that she can come over with us high on love, would be great as well. But I'm pretty fortunate that the connections that I've got, that they're trusting Sammy and myself with these horses, and for me to drive them, it's a big privilege. It's going to be a good start for us, but not going to be easy. The Breeders' Crown's a very hard series, but we're just wrapped to be amongst it.
Predominantly, Josh, do you see yourself setting up training over there, or training a bit but more freelance driving?
Yeah, I really want to give the freelance driving a crack over there. It's not going to be easy. There's some really established good drivers over there, but you got to have a go. You got to give it a chance. So at the moment, we'd just quite like to keep our numbers reasonably small, but we'll take horses, don't get me wrong. But I think at the moment we've got 6 or 8 horses to start with. That's a good number for Sammy and myself. And we've got Zach Phillips, he trains a handful of horses there, so we can sort of work in together and help each other out when needed. But if I can really get the driving going over there, it'd be a huge thrill if I can get that going.
You've had great success here, but you've also had great success in Victoria. Are you looking forward to this next stage of your life?
Well, I am really. I turned 30 this year, and I suppose just looking for a new challenge. I love it here, but yeah, just want to try it. I've always liked Victoria. Every time I've gone there, I've loved the racing. It's completely different to here, but as I say, I've enjoyed my time there, and with the opportunities there, they're racing every day, sometimes twice a day. And I talked to some, top trainers over there, and even guys like Andy Gath, and that have given me, they've just sort of put us on the right line of, it's worth a chance and have a bit of a crack, So, we're pretty excited about what's coming up.
If there's somebody watching this around New Zealand on the box seat and they're thinking, look, I've got a horse I think might suit Victoria or suit Josh, are you available to take horses straight out of the gate?
Yeah, definitely, Mick. And that's what we're trying to, attract. Kiwi horses seem to go to Australia, and they do really well. They can be placed a lot better over there. There's so many opportunities for them. So, we're looking for any horse. If someone was keen to, try their luck in Australia, we'd be happy to put our hand up.
Great to catch up with Josh Dickey. Gee, he's going to be a loss to Northern Harness, to New Zealand Harness, to be fair, Michael. Let's hope one day he does come back, because, as he mentioned, he loves the place. 446 driving wins, training wins over 250. But what about the team he's going to have for the Breeders' Crown?
Yeah, getting Lost the Beach, who races this Friday night, is going to be awfully juicy for her, admittedly in a very strong bunch of horses, but yeah, that's going to be a real boost for him. But Nathan Purdon over there, it's going to become Little New Zealand Victoria. But Greg, there's a bonus to that. If you want to send a horse which you think may be better placed in Australia for even part of its career, or like these horses, head to a carnival, Greg. All of a sudden you've got horses going to carnivals with people you know and trust. So I think a real bonus for people, because most of the top-end horses, Greg, don't just race in New Zealand. They need to race both sides of the Tasman to maximise their earning ability. And Josh and Sammy, his partner, are going to be right in the middle of that.
Yep, they certainly are that, and right in the middle of the most special race nights was Saturday night, where we had the Victoria Cup. Very much sought after race. King of Swing had to come from the outside gate in front. Amazing Dream. She'd worked her way there quite nicely. The eventual winner, Max Delight's in the trail. 29 seconds for the first 2 quarters set up in front by the mare. Overall, Michael, 153.2. Amazing Dream just ran out of gas. You can't blame her for that. But let's talk about this winner, Max Delight, a winner of the New South Wales Derby, a winner of the Breeders' Crown as a 3-year-old. It wasn't like he didn't have the credentials to be right up to a Grand Circuit race like this.
Well, and sitting in the trail, Greg, with the leader running so hard was beautiful for him. Outside the leaders, obviously King of Swing, who was probably the run of the race. 4 back on the marker, Peg's getting off his 888. He will charge home, the former New Zealand pacer. And you want to see something weird? Watch the horse 4 back on the mark is now pulling out. Josh Aiken's about to get tipped out of the sulky, run over, and then bounce up to his feet. They don't pay you for that. They pay you for winning the race. Here's Max Delight coming up the
There's a
inside.
fall back in the field. Max Delight shot through, grabbed the lead. Max Delight wins it. Max Delight has won it from a photo.
So a brilliant performance there by Max Delight. Chris Alford, you have to go all the way back to Golden Rain, the Inter-Dominion winner from 95. Here's another look at this tumble that Josh Aitken had. He's copped a decent suspension, Michael, about 6 weeks, along with a fine as well. Remarkably, he landed on his feet. His father, David, of course, trained the winner, so fluctuating fortunes for the family, but that had a look about it that we saw at Menangle when I'm Victorious's career was basically ended, wasn't it? Something similar a few years back.
Yeah, agreed. He's come out and he's clipped a wheel, so he's done wrong. Clearly the stewards have told him that. He's been run over by a horse and bounced back up again. He looked like Woody from Toy Story. That's what it looked like. He just rolled and just turned up like a cartoon character. It was quite remarkable. No one was hurt during that. Back to the winner. Would have been interesting for David Aiken. He would have looked back at Josh and thought, okay, he's okay. I'll go celebrate now. And it's by Bettor's Delight, Max Delight. And he's always been a good horse, but he was so long on the market for two reasons. First of all, Chris Alford wasn't confident he could cross the one. And secondly, he was scratched from the smoking up the week before because he had a hoof issue. And when they've got hoof issues, Greg, no one wants to back them next start. Not on that field. So he's been good. He'll head to the Inter-Dominions in Sydney where he's raced for success before, as you mentioned. Amazing Dream, I don't think she suits being in front, and I think Anthony did the right thing. Once he got to the lead, which he had to do to stay in front of King of Swing, he just tried to run her really hard, like he did maybe in the Ballarat Cup with Smolder like 5 years ago when he beat Lazarus doing the same thing. I don't think it entirely suited her, but I don't think she performed to her best. Nathan Purdon said, no New Zealand Cup. We're not coming across for that. But the connections have told him from the US on Monday night, they said, look, if you can get to Sydney for the Inter-Dominions, take her. So all of a sudden, she's a chance to go to the Inter-Dominions. Why am I telling you this? She's $17 with New Zealand TRB, $5 a place, Gregory.
Nice.
King of Swing is a favourite for that race, as he absolutely should be because it's on his home track. And Triple Eight, who will head to the Inter-Dominion instead of the New Zealand Cup also, he'll be suited by the 3,000 metres of the final, Greg. So, look, he's in play. So the first, second and third there in play. Amazing Dream potentially heading there as long as Nathan can get there. Hard to make a case for the rest of those, Greg, but it was a very frenetic Victoria Cup on a really interesting night of harness racing.
Yeah, well, you speak of being interesting. Let's go to the Derby and the Oaks and the trotting feature. Here's the Derby. Act Now, a one-act affair, Michael.
Look, lovely big strong horse Now. He raced in the earlier derbies back in about February when the season was in its first half for the 3-year-olds, and he just wasn't strong enough. But Emma Stewart said he's got better every time they've taken him to the track. He's a good-looking type of a horse, and yep, he bolted in here. American Dealer was underperforming for Nathan Purdon. He's obviously better than that. Here's the filly, Ladies in Red. Settled well back, got round, sat park, just smashed him. And the Australians are thinking she's the next superstar, but be interesting. She's got Better Twist waiting for her in Victoria, so Better Twist head-to-head against this horse in the Breeders' Crown. It's going to be awfully fun for November. And here's the Trotters Sprint. This time last week they were saying Majestioso was the next big thing in Australian trotting. That lasted about a week. Because here's little Pink Galaz, who is roughly big enough to fit inside a violin case, and she has gone past him at the end. Two very good, fast horses. Greg Sleepy getting up on the inside to run third, but once again, it's a Victorian open class trotting crop without the sort of depth we're used to over here, because those horses there, and I love Majestioso. I've had a horse who raced against him. I love him, and you got to love Pink Galaz. She's so cool, but I don't think they would run will be able to win against the likes of Bolt for Brilliance, Muscle Mountain. Majestic Man's already proven that, and of course, the king at the moment in Sunday Sun.
Yeah, they went a track record in saying that, Michael. I think it was 154 and 2. I really like the way Sleepy got to the line there. I think there's definitely a big race win for him and the puppet. Hey, Mufasa Metro has made it 2 from 2 in Australia, Michael, but that's probably not surprising.
It won the home field for new trainer John Justice and used that gate speed we saw on Jules Day when it led and was really good behind Five Wise Men. Again, their crop's not as strong as our crop, but Mufasa Metro was a lot cleaner in his gait. He trotted really squarely. He'll be a factor now for races like the Victoria Trotting Derby, which used to be in the middle of the year, which is now at the end of the year, but it's quite a strong Victorian trotting derby. But yeah, he was really good the other day. And he's going to be an open class factor over there, Greg, because he's got gate speed and he was good enough to be an open class horse here. Well, that definitely makes you an open class horse in Victoria.
Yeah, Queen Elida takes her place in the Oaks this week, of course, for Tony Barron, still owned there. Brent Lilly doing the training there. Looking forward to seeing it go round along with Spellbound. And all of our Australian action brought to you by Garrards, of course. Unfortunately, in the harness race, we've had a couple of people pass away, licence holders for a long period of time. Merv Bryars and Ron Patterson, our thoughts are with their families. Long time associated with the sport, had their fair share of nice horses as well. So our thoughts are with their family at this time, their families. All right, short break for us. When we come back on the other side, we'll hear from a young man who basically has to acknowledge that someone else is better than him at tipping rugby league.
Videos. Unfortunately, my South Sydney Rabbitohs lost the grand final to Mick's Penrith Panthers. So I'm here to say that Mick is a far better tipster than me, and I have no idea what I'm talking about. They were just too good on the day, unfortunately. And also, while I'm here, I sort of have to finally admit that Mick would have to be my favourite co-host on the show. Sorry, Grego.
Well, quite obviously there, Michael, you've written the script for that because you haven't had that much to do with Ben Hope, and if you had, I'm pretty sure he wouldn't be saying such a thing.
I know it hurts, Greg. I know you fancy yourself as the poster boy for South Island harness racing. You think these people are your friends, but he's not the only one there. There's others down there. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do, because you're a good fella. I'm going to give you, since I've claimed Ben, and it's a few others out there, I've claimed Ben, I'm going to give you one of the Northerners back so you can have one of my Northern team to make you feel better about yourself. So you have to make a choice. Who would you like in your team? You can have Todd Mitchell or Tony Shaw. You can have one of those two.
Yeah, Shawsey by lengths, I'll promise you that.
I'll give you I'll ring Shawsey and tell him he's out of my team and he's to join Greg's ever-dwindling team. Good on Ben Hope for being a good fella about it, because we had a bit of a bet. I'm actually a Penrith Panthers fan. I was thrilled to see them win.
Yeah.
It's fair to say that Ben backed the losing team, but he might be on the winning team pretty shortly, Greg, in a big race, because did you see Muscle Mountain at the workouts last week?
We're about to have a look at that, Michael. Actually, Darren Williams in the office at Addington suggested to me today that maybe Ben's punishment should have been that he has to name his next horse after one of the Penrith players. Maybe Cleary has a nice ring to it, Michael?
Well, Cleary's a winner. Why wouldn't you? So, yeah. I think at the moment, I said to him, do you want to go head-to-head for Bolt for Brilliance versus Muscle Mountain? He's like, no, I want to keep that business.
Keep that separate.
And that business starts at Addington this Friday night.
Yeah, it does. 12 races, Michael, $20,000 terminating pick 6. Let's go straight to that trotting race because it is an exceptional field. Here he is in front, Muscle Mountain, ahead of Oscar Bonavina, who trotted really nicely, I thought, Michael, but have a look at the stretch on Muscle Mountain. Greg Hope's been telling us that he's strengthened up. He's a Group 1 winner already. And the way he found the line here, 56.6, 28.3 under his own steam. He was really nice, and he goes fresh up into the Canterbury Park Cup. What about some of the horses that have won this race, Michael? Tussle, Basil Dean, Stig, Lyle Creek, Take a Moment, Sundon, I Can Do's It. Any horse that's been any good in the last 30 years has pretty much won this race.
Yeah, well, it's a great field, isn't it, this week? Because Sunday's Sun is so good, and yet he's $2.50 because he's off a 20-metre handicap. And both Bolt for Brilliance, who was excellent at Pukekohe recently, and Muscle Mountain have beaten him in the past. So when you look at it, you go, well, how do they beat Sunday? Sunday's so good. They've both done it before, Greg. And if one of them can get around the field, they're on 10, he and Majestic Man are back on 20 Sunday Sun. Greg, they'll take a power of catching. I love this open class trotting crop. I think it's the most exciting racing we've got in the entire country at the moment. I don't know what to make of it because I'm not sure how quickly they'll step and where Sunday Sun's going to end up in relation to them. But the crucial factor is if they can get 2 or 3 horses in front of Sunday Sun or each other, then there's a horse like a Muscle Mountain or a Bolt for Brilliance, Greg, could trot to the lead. I can't wait for this race. Just on Friday night, Greg, an earlier start. I think they kick off at 4:37. Is that a planned move by Eddington? Because I don't mind it, but it means that for punters betting into the open class pace and the open class trot, they better be up and about pretty early, because it's actually going to be all over before you know it. I think the big races are gone by 8:45.
Yeah, it's the 12 race thing, Michael. That's why they're starting a little bit earlier. So, yeah, the last race is at 9:34. They do tend to try and get things completed before 10 o'clock. So that was the idea when there was 10 races, but huge nominations for this week. So the 12 races and therefore the earlier start. So if you were to nail it in one for this week's Canterbury Park Cup, who would it be?
It's a tricky one. It's market dependent. When you look at the market, Muscle Mountain's a lot shorter than Bolt for Brilliance, and I don't see why he should be. I think they're comparable horses. So just on the market, I would go Bolt for Brilliance. But if it was which horse is the best chance of winning, it's probably Sunday Sun, because he's had 3 runs and they've had none so far this campaign.
Dunstan Horse Feeds is race number 10. Gee, this is an excellent field. Life's a Beach was so good first up and then backed that up last week. A really strong run to the line here, Michael, and we know she's heading to the Breeders' Crown, but in this sort of form, she'll take some beating this week. She's come up with barrier 7. Gee, she's got some horses to line up against. Darling Me, Kerry Maguire, both from the Telfer team. Adieu Flirt's been in great form. Maybelline won on the premiere night. Better Talk Art, the Southland Oaks winner, has her first start and she's been a trial winner. Susie Rocks comes up with barrier 1. Deep, deep race this week, race number 10.
Yeah, look, we needed it because we've exported Amazing Dream. Beyond Words has gone overseas from last year. So we lost a lot of horses who were really performing at the top level last year. We do get Bella Montana back, which is good, but we needed to rejuvenate the mare's grade. And I think Life's a Beach good enough to race in those Group 1s when she gets back from the Breeders' Crown. I think Darling Me clearly is. So, Greg, we've got some really good horses coming through this grade, but I'm not sure many of them are tougher than Life's a Beach. She can go forward and keep trucking, as you would expect from a Tony Barron horse. She's the one to beat this week, but you're right, deep field.
Back to race 7, Stora Motors Free For All. This is really interesting runner, Pelosi. Spent her time, the majority of it, in Brisbane. That's her in the green colours, really hitting the line strong. She comes up with the outside barrier and, of course, is trained by Cran and Chrissy Dalgetty. I love the way she found the line here. There was nothing wrong with this at all. That's Better Talk Art taking that trial out. It's not going to be easy for a first up at Addington Raceway from the 8 gate. From drawn inside her is New York Minute, Terry, Typo, who we'll hear more about later from you, Cheezel, Dracaris. It's a pretty hot sort of field, but her record suggests she won't be out of this.
Yeah, she's a good horse. She is a really good horse and was an excellent 2-year-old and 3-year-old. She's had a few little problems since. I'm not sure about some of the form that she was racing against at 2 or 3. A lot of those horses haven't gone on. So I think she's going to be a factor in the mare's races, but she is disadvantaged by the fact, Greg, that she's won so much money and her rating's a bit higher than probably it deserves to be for where she is in her career. So, yeah, I think she's going to be a player in those mare's races we mentioned before, but this is a pretty slippery field and there's horses in here who could make their way into a New Zealand Cup and she won't be able to do that. So I'll watch this week more so than punt.
Yeah, that was Need You Now in second, and it's all about Faith in third. So it was a pretty deep trial, that one. Let's go to the free-for-all race. Small in numbers, Michael, half a dozen. Bit of a question mark about Matt Damon. Here's a look at the market. South Coast Arden has come up $1.80 favourite. Starts off the 10 metres along with Henry Hubert, who'll be looking to get the standing start right. Then you're out to $2.20 for Self Assured, who will definitely be improved off his first up run, Michael. I expect him to be a lot fitter. Whether he can give South Coast Arden a start is another question.
I don't think he can, not at this stage of the season. Maybe eventually he can, Greg, but I think most people watching this would understand. If he steps away, South Coast Arden, I can't imagine anybody getting in his way. Like, he's just going to roll to the lead, one would think. And we saw him do that at Addington a couple of times last autumn when he was too good. And if he is in front, Greg, Self-Assured is not going to come savage him. So $1.80 is actually okay. I think he might even close shorter, even though Self-Assured's probably the more, well, not probably is the more proven horse. So at South Coast Arden's race to lose, for me, Greg, is there something I'm missing there?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so at all. What I do believe it is going to come down to the start. If Self Assured can catch it and get past South Coast Arden, then, yep, that gives him the advantage.
100.
Yeah.
And look, to be honest, the New Zealand Cup might come down to the same thing.
Yeah, could do.
The New Zealand Cup might come down, Greg, to which one of those two horses ends up in front of the other, and that's not discounting Copy That, of course, who could end up in front of both of them.
Yep.
But, yeah, this week, if one of them gets it right and one gets it wrong at the start, that market's going to fluctuate very wildly in your mind by the time they get to the winner's post for the first time. But all things being equal, you would think South Coast Arden is in front with a lap to go.
Yeah, another stepping stone in the Woodland Sire Stakes goes to Waikato Bay of Plenty, Cambridge, on Thursday night. Want to have a look at the field for this one, or a trial that would hold plenty of interest, I'm sure. Major Perry doing the business here, and if he goes as good as this, Michael, he'll take some beating this week.
Yeah, he's a good horse. And look, I think last year they were thinking Montana DJ was the big strong horse and Major Perry was the fast horse. A lot's going to depend on the run this week, but Major Perry's got the better of the draws, so we'll probably go for him. I think he was excellent at the duels, admittedly about 2 cricket pitches behind Akuta, but no shame in that. So maybe he's on top this week. Yeah, unfortunately, I think he was going to be driven actually by young Luke Whittaker. And Luke had a fall last week, so we're sorry to hear that, Luke. A couple of broken bones and a wrist, apparently. So showed the faith that Scott Phelan and Barry Purdon were willing to pid in Luke. He'll bounce back, but yeah, his driving career heading the right way. I'm sure he would have loved to have been sitting behind Major Perry this Thursday night.
Yeah, and in that heat we just watched, Montana DJ and Blame It On The Night was second and third, so it's a pretty good line towards that heat. And we've already talked about Republican Party being the one to beat in what will be heat number 3 on Friday night. Let's have a look at some hits and misses from last week, courtesy of the TAB. Franco Indy, a couple of thousand there at $1.60. Same with Romeo Shard, who's now into $2.10. In that Graphite Developments Futurity on, showed a 3,000 on Republican Party, who the bookies gave you a spoil there. 180 was his opening price. Decent bet on Copy That and Paulie D, 4,000 at the 290. There were a few that missed there, Michael, and one significant miss. Well, 2 actually, if you count the Arden Velocity bet there in race 3 at the park. Nearly 10,000 on Want to Play With Me. That would have been a hard watch because she hit the lead a long way out and looked to have that race at her mercy.
Yeah, she did. That was, I watched it a couple of times and I was like, what happened there? But there's no point hitting a horse like her. She was doing her best until she wasn't, if you know what I mean. So, look, good to see the bookies letting the punters on for some of those big bets, Greg. But, yeah, some of them not quite so much fun. Paulie D was a weird one. Apparently someone had an enormous planner on the tote. He ended up paying $1.20. So there was a huge bet on it on the tote after that race was decimated by scratchings because of the fall. Now, Grego, you're flying in our bets of the week. You've had 2 of them and you've had 2 wins. So I would just stop.
Here's just a rarity. We know that, Michael, back to back.
Yeah,
I'm a long way off your, what did you get, 9 or 10 on the bounce? Was it 10?
It was 12.
Oh, it was 12.
It was 12.
Yeah, I didn't want to.
2's good. 2's good. You can stop
your ego, as people
want to
know.
have another go this week? Do you want a chance and ruin your percentage? Do you want to have a go this week?
I'll tell you what, I'm going against one of my rules, which is maiden trotters. Boss Kenny, trained by Tony Barron, and very much in form, started out of its grade last week. Excellent run, outside draw. Really think it'll be hard to beat this week. So that's Addington Raceway, race 2, number 10 on Friday night. What about for you?
You're telling me there's about 300 horses racing in this country this week, and you have tipped 2 out of 2, and you're going for a maiden trot.
2 from 2, Michael. 2 from 2, mate. Michael Guerin, 0. Oh, yeah,
I'll go for Typo because he was so good last start. Boomed home for 4th in a better field. He's got a bit of gate speed. I think he's in the right race for Anna Donnelly at Addington on Friday night. So Typo for me could have just as easily been Marathon Man. He falls back an enormously long way out of the Spring Cup back to a graded race against 2 win horses at Cambridge. So take your pick out of those 2.
All right, we're a couple of weeks into the Kaikoura competition, so we'll get to this week's question for you. You'll get 4 people to be hosted by Kaikoura. That is, of course, if we're able to do that under the COVID regime. boxseatnz@gmail.com. How many times has I Can Do's it won the South Bay Trotters Cup? He was able to win it 3 times. This week's question, who won the aged pace last year? So who won the aged pace? Just send us in your answers, boxseatnz@gmail.com. Do it by Monday. And yeah, we're only about one more week, one more question, and we'll select who is the lucky winner out of the 4 weeks that we've been asking the questions here on your box seat. Harness racing action for you this week. Rio Trotting Club, they've got 9 races starting on Thursday, so a double header Thursday, 1:59 the start time there. Some pretty nice sort of horses making their way down there as well. Waikato Bay are plenty, 9 races on Thursday night, 4:53, highlighted by that Woodland Stud Sire Stakes heat that we just talked about. Addington Raceway, bumper program, 12 races, $20,000 terminating pick 6, first at 4:37. And Oamaru, I'm pretty sure they had 10 races there on Sunday, 12:10 at the start time. Michael, so much to digest. Of course, it's Everest week. Huge racing across the Tasman. Livermore Classic here. Great supporters of harness racing they are as well. So looking forward to that coming out of Hastings. An expensive Ego, who we know so well on this show. He makes his first run back to Menangle, he'll be, after a pretty successful raid on Queensland in the winter.
It's a great weekend ahead, Greg, and we're all hoping for good news. Of course, Addington have a date in mind very shortly for whether they are going to have a full crowd or anything like that. Greg, any inside information? I know you do some work with the team at Addington. I know COVID's impossible to predict, but is there confidence there that we might have some people at New Zealand Cup Day?
Still working on that pod situation, Michael. Maybe slightly more than what was originally discussed, maybe up to 11 or 12 pods. But Darren Williams and the team there are working pretty hard to give us the answer by next week's show. So let's hope that that can happen and you'll have a greater understanding of what could be the case. But as we know with COVID, who knows what's around the corner. Michael, that completes the show for this week. What's the one race, I think I know the answer to this, that you're looking forward to the most this week in harness racing?
Oh, mate, the Canterbury Park Trotting Cup. Love it, Greg. Looking forward to seeing Sunday Sun. Might be the best horse in the country. Probably spends all the time in Australia. He might be the best horse, full stop, in this country, Sunday Sun. But can he give them a start and a beating? Greg, it's going to be a thrilling race at Addington. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to dissecting it all next week on the show.
Yeah, we'll do that in 7 days' time, and we'll build towards a massive day on Labour Monday, of course, at Ashburton. We'll catch you in a week.